So December is now upon us and, well, it's snowing outside. So for today's implant tutorial, let's think warm. That's right, today we're turning on the heating with thermal circulation, a railgun implant that brings us a huge potential damage boost if you can keep the temperatures in that lovely sweet spot. Do you want to know what else is in that sweet spot? The subscribe button. So, thermal circulation, how does this one work? Well, its most basic ability, unlocked at level 1, allows us to boost the raw damage of the railguns, but it's not quite as simple as that. As we can see from the skill's description, we need to get our heat levels up to 70 out of 100 before we can see the damage boost, and as per usual, this damage boost scales with our implant's level. As we can see here, it is currently 30%, and it maxes out at 100%. Do note that my 30% is with the implant levelled at level 10. So getting the heat to build up to 70 is easy enough. Every salvo of your railguns adds 6 heat to the total. So within 12 salvos, you'll be receiving that sweet damage bonus. But again, it isn't that simple, because once the heat hits 100, your weapons get drastically slower, with the activation time increasing by 400%. Letting this heat drop even a single digit from 100 simply won't help. Once the activation time penalty is applied, the only way to get it back down to normal is to get that heat all the way down to 0. Yeah, 0. That means the only times you'll be receiving an actual damage boost to your DPS will be when the heat number is between 70 and 99. As per usual, this heat number will be visible next to the implant when you're out in space, and you'll be able to see that whenever I cut through to the video that I've got of me using the implant in game in a very small, cheap fitting with absolutely 0 skills applied. Just there for the sake of adding to the video. So how do we get that heat to go back down, since it increases by 6 with every single volley? Well, after disabling the implant skill, the heat will decrease at a rate of 2 per second. Yeah, this does mean that this is one of those implants that will be frequently turned on and off if you want to keep it in that heat sweet zone, which for some of you might be a deal breaker if you're one of those who doesn't want to have to deal with repairing the implants. But anyways, let's move on to what bonuses they get to choose from all the way at level 15. So first up, we have Cryogenic Armor. This skill is kind of amazing really. If the heat is below 30, you get a 20% increase to your ship's armour resistances. Of course, it will never be a true 20% because of the diminishing returns in how that all works, to prevent us from actually hitting 100. But you don't even have to have railguns fitted to your ship for this one to work. Just grab a naturally tanky armour ship that you don't already have a suitable implant for and plop this one on. You could be flying a Prophecy, an Astero, a Punisher Assault, the list goes on. All would find this one particularly useful, especially if you don't already have a suitable implant to go with it. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, I reckon an Abaddon, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that one, but one of those in Cobalt Edge might make good use of this implant, as I've found solo tanking to be something of an issue with my ball gun, even in smaller anomalies there. I could be fitting it wrong, but hey ho. It might be worth me considering on an Abaddon if I don't mind dropping the DPS a little bit lower. But anyways, we know how useful this first ability can be to a non-railgun pilot. So let's move on to the second option at level 15. And here we have Precision Calibration. This time the skill directly affects railguns, with the same requirement of the heat being 30 or under. What we get is a nice 25% boost to the optimal range and accuracy fall-off of the railguns. If range is an issue that you've been dealing with on your railgun ships, then this might help you with those problems. But as a non-railgun pilot, my own personal biases draw me towards the first choice Cryogenic Armor. Again, it is worth reiterating that with both of these options, once the heat gets above 30, these bonuses will disable. So you will lose your bonus for the range and the armor resistance bonuses. So yeah, you've got a choice to make there. Do you keep it under 30 to receive these bonuses, or do you go up to 70 and higher to get the extra damage? That's entirely your choice, and you'll be likely making that on the fly, depending on what target you're up against. So moving on to level 30, we have an interesting set of abilities to choose from. Typically with these implants, we tend to be given choices that allow us to better manage our own implants, as it can be active. I'm really butchering my words here, aren't I? I don't know if it's the script or my brain with this one. Let's try this sentence again. Typically, with these implants, we tend to be given choices that allow us to better manage how long our implants can be active before we have to disable them. But this time, it's kind of different. Both of our options are based on us reaching 100 heat and suffering from the coil overheating penalty. That is where the amount of time that it takes for our weapons to complete a cycle go up by an extra 4 times, making it approximately 5 times slower. Now remember that this penalty, yeah, I've just explained that bit in my script. I'm not very good at reading scripts sometimes, am I? Especially when I go off on a bit of a tangent. But anyway, by the time you hit level 30, you're already doing your best to avoid overheating by enabling and disabling the implant consistently. And the first ability, thermal damage, can be a bit misleading at a first glance, as it grants a huge bonus to the thermal damage of the railgun whilst you are overheating. And that thermal damage at first glance comes close to matching the overheating penalty, right? Well, not really. Having glanced at the damage profile of the Mark 7 large snub-nosed railgun with no skills, implants, etc., the thermal damage of the weapon represents only 37% of the railgun's total damage. So we're not getting such a huge boost in reality, and we are significantly better off not letting the implant to overheat. And we're going to bring up an example ever so quickly in the in-game market, just to give you guys a quick demonstration of the actual heat levels, well, thermal damage levels. As we can see, here's our Mark 9 large rifled, and we are going to have a quick look at the large snub-nosed, again Mark 9. As we can see, it's only a mere fraction. I thought that was worth just bringing up there before I go back onto the script. So what about the other option? Well, hull protection gives us an additional 30% to our armour and hull resistances, just as long as our weapons are overheating, again the same as with the previous ability. Note however that this skill doesn't scale with our implants level. You're already getting the most out of this at level 30. Now, this one is a little more interesting as it does have some valid uses. However, they may seem a little bit niche at first. Imagine you're tackled, maybe by rats or another player, and your railguns, for whatever reason, they cannot hit the target, or they can't break the enemy's tank. At this stage, it doesn't matter if your weapons slow down when you overheat, because your weapons aren't able to do any suitable damage. But that huge bonus to your resistances could be all that you need to survive long enough for help to arrive. Armour logistic ships might struggle to make use of this ability, simply because of the need to actually fit weapons to get the heat up. But an Armour Guardian could attempt to make use of this implant to get some insane bonuses. But that said, unfortunately it always seems that shields will be the meta in this game. But if you find yourself in an armour doctrine and you're looking at going down the Guardian route, keep this implant in mind, especially if you already have it all the way up at level 30. Or if you just have some spare cash to spend, I guess. But anyway, so before we move into the realm of the expensive with level 45, if I was a railgun pilot, which I'm not, what would I choose from the choices presented at levels 15 and 30? Well, precision calibration and hull protection would be my choices, as the implant would essentially grant me 3 different styles of play to independently switch between whilst out in space. With the heat under 30, the range bonuses may allow you to get better range control between you and your targets, and if you let it go between 70 and 99, you can go in a little bit closer when you lose that range bonus for even more damage. And if you need to tank above all else for whatever reason, hitting 100 will grant you possibly the best armour resistances in the game. So now that we know what my personal preferences are, let's move on to level 45 with the Overheat Active skill. This one is very short and sweet. Upon activation, we get an additional 50 heat, allowing you to get into that sweet spot for the damage bonus that much faster. Maybe it's the start of the fight and you need to warm up faster, or you made the mistake of letting your implant overheat and hit 100, and now you need to get it back up again after you cooled down all the way to 0, just as quickly as possible to recover. Whichever the case may be, it's useful to have, although I'm not entirely sure if it's worth the investment. So okay, we know what the implant is now. Let's move on to how we can get this implant in-game. If we head over to the Dormant Realm screen, which will take me a moment to find the button because I have to look away from the script and actually at the game. There we go. And we shall enter Lore of the Deep. So we can see that in Lore of the Deep, at levels 4 and 7, the experimental and basic, if I can bring this up, the experimental and basic versions of the thermal circulation implant are available in this particular Dormant Realm as first completion rewards. Unfortunately for many, this Dormant Realm is a capital ship Dormant Realm. So yeah, there is a higher barrier to entry with this one. That said, if you have a number of capital ship pilots in your corporation or alliance, you may be able to get a carry at level 4 to get the experimental version of this implant. And of course, both of the implants and the materials required to create them are random rewards in the very same Dormant Realm. Now let's assume, for whatever reason, that running the Dormant Realm isn't an option for you, and take a look at the marketplace to see just how affordable they may be. And as we load the marketplace, which will take me a moment to get to it, it's worth noting that even players like me that you might consider to be a regular player in this game, I don't tend to get all that many Dormant Realms in. I do them on occasion when the right people are making callouts in game, but yeah, even I don't do all that many Dormant Realms. So let's have a look at the relevant. We are looking for thermal circulation. Here we go. So the experimental implant for thermal circulation, we're currently looking at around 2.45 billion ISK. So it's buyable on the market, it is there to buy, but it's quite expensive. It is very expensive. So that probably indicates a level of popularity for the implant. I'm kind of guessing there. I certainly do not have my finger on the pulse. But let's have a look at thermal circulation at the basic level. It has an estimated value of 4.5 billion ISK, and there are none available to buy on the market. Going up to standard, the purple one, again not available on the market, 11.2 billion ISK at the estimated value. Let's see if it's actually there at advanced. At advanced, 14.9 billion ISK. I guess as implants go, that's fairly cheap, but again, we're only seeing a few on the market here. So they are affordable for some to buy. Not entirely sure if it's worth it though. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of hard with these implants, to be honest, to know which ones really are worth it, especially when we only have skills for certain implants. But anyway, that is the thermal circulation implant. Writing the script for this one certainly helped warm my hands up a little bit anyway. And if you have any experiences that you want to share about this implant, feel free to let us all know about them in the comments section. In a perfect world, I will be able to 100% test everything that I do on a video. But we've got to work with what we've got. So if you happened to find this implant tutorial helpful, feel free to hit those like and subscribe buttons. In the meantime, I bid you fly casual, and I'll see you guys and girls in the next video.